Hey everybody, Elizabeth Nader back with you live tonight. Excited to bring you some more amazing candidates that we need to take a closer look at for this November, running for Assembly in District 16. Vinny Panico and Joe Lukac, welcome to the Nader Narrative.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Pleasure to meet you tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Same here.
So glad to have you guys here. And of course, last week we had your friend Michael Pappas on, who is running for Senate in your district as well. So tonight's goal is the same as it was last week. We need the state to get to know you guys. We need to be supporting great candidates in any district. And the two of you are very strong. We want people to get to know who you are, what your passion is, and we'll talk about some of the issues, the many issues facing us. So, Vinny, I want to start with you. Let's tell everybody who you are, what you've done. Both of you guys have a great public service record and why you're running.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to be here. It's great to connect with folks like you who are making a difference in New Jersey every day. So I've been on the school board now for 9 years. I spent 3 years on the Readington Township School Board. I spent 6 now on Hunterdon Central School Board. The most recent 4 I've been board president, which has been a very interesting time because I've been board president under Phil Murphy. Wow. So I got involved in education because it's a passion of mine. My fiance is a teacher. It's something that I love in my core because I think it's influential to the future of where we're going as a country. And when I saw some of the decisions that were being made and the way schools were working, I decided I wanted to get involved to help influence change. And it's been an interesting couple of years. I'll say that at the very least. We could dive into all the topics that have come across our table. Oh, yes. But it really has propelled me now into running for state legislature. All right, when I've watched my opponents rubber stamp Phil Murphy's executive orders and his policies over the last 4 years without actually giving them the credit and credence that they need when they should be reviewing them, without doing the due diligence to understand how they're going to impact the folks in their district, I knew that we needed better leadership down in Trenton. I talked to some folks here in the area, and they were all like, you know what, you're the right guy. I'm a moderate conservative, passionate about education, infrastructure, conservative values, the environment, all those sorts of things. So I'm excited to bring that kind of leadership down to Trenton. And I'm really excited to help represent the people of District 16 as we go and try to flip this area red.
Absolutely. A great experience. And we're going to talk about your area here in a little bit because it's been going in a direction that hasn't been very red. And we'll talk about why that may be. But fabulous background, Vinny. Very excited. Joe, tell everybody about who you are, what you've been doing, and why you put your hat into the ring for this race.
Well, thank you again for having us tonight, Elizabeth. We appreciate it very much. And when I graduated high school, I decided to take a different route. I joined the U.S. Army. I served 12 years in the Combat Engineer Corps, where I learned about quick, instant leadership as fast as possible. Got out of the Army, and I settled back in Manville, got married. I live here with my wife, Sharon, 3 children. I started off by serving on the Manville School Board. Basically the same passions and reasons Vinny did. I thought that the board at the time forgot about the kids, forgot about the people. They were just there for their own personal agendas. And after I served the school board, I got elected to council in Manville, and I'm on my 2nd term right now. The beauty of the whole thing is I'm also a member of the IBW Local 102 up in Parsippany. Yeah. And, we've always had a history of fighting for working families. And the other side doesn't do that anymore. They don't. They've forgotten who their true base really was. Right. And it's a shame. I'm sure Vinny will agree with me. I'm doing this for many reasons, but the main reason is that down in Trenton, they've forgotten about who's paying the bills to keep the lights running down there. Yeah. And they're worried about everyone else except the people that are actually going out every day, working, trying to feed their families and keep a roof over their head. And for the folks like in the nursing homes and the veterans nursing homes that had no voice. Right now, our kids have no voice. We're going to be a voice for every single resident in this district and state.
Yep. And you know what, Joe, I love is what you talk about, the working man, the working woman. That used to be the Democrat Party, right? And they have, as you say, ignored what was their base. And we are definitely the party of the blue collar worker. I love that you represent that. And Vinny, I read that your dad was a small business owner. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So all grown up, my dad owned his own business. It was furniture installation. Yeah. Right. So it was him and some other guys. I'll be honest with you. I was helping them on the weekends, right? As a kid, we were lugging cubicles up steps, putting them together, popping the clips in to set up offices, because that's what got it done.
Yeah.
And from there, I actually went and started my own business when I was in high school. Started that and helped me put through college, ended up taking it and merging it with another business here in Somerset County, where we had great success for a number of years. So, business has been in my blood, small business, being an employer, right? Right now, I work for a small business up in Jersey City, where I employ a sales team. That's been who I am, right? I'm not working for Wall Street. I'm not working for big, Goldman Sachs or anything like that. I'm working for folks who are putting food on table, who are helping employ other people and our neighbors and our friends. So it's been something that's near and dear to my heart, because I've seen how the legislation in this state, specifically in the last 4 years, have really put a hamper on some of the decisions that we've had to make and have hurt us as a business. I said to you before we started here, I was working for a startup in Clifton. And ended up losing my job because of COVID and some of the restrictions and mandates that came down from the state, not just around masking and not just around the economy. And that was hard. It was something I dealt with. As we face this next round of closures here, the same things go through your mind, right? What's going to happen to the 2/3 of small businesses that are left after 1/3 closed in the past year? How many more of those are going to survive? Can they last another year of Phil Murphy? And I don't think it is. So I'm happy to be part of the team that's trying to replace the legislature down in Trenton and make it so that small business can thrive and survive here in this state, because it's not going to happen under the current administration. No,
it's only getting worse. And the truth is that you either own a small business or you work for one, most likely in this state. I mean, Joe, right? The two of you sort of amplify that right there with the, one who owns a business, has owned a business, another who's worked for that. And for us to be able to represent that, and you're right, the businesses are suffering. It's not getting better. We've seen that. We've seen our friends suffer. We've seen family members suffer. It's got to stop. I want to ask you guys about the district now. District 16 has headed in the direction of the blue category here over time. The registrations have been more for the Democrats. Why do you think the district is heading in that direction? And what can you guys do to stem that tide? Joe, why don't you start with that?
Oh, I think, Elizabeth, I don't think families do what they used to do. And, they sit there and say, I'm a Democrat, you're a Democrat, I'm a Republican, and the kids are finding their own way. Yeah. What I've been finding a lot, just like in Manville, for example, this town was led for decades by the Democratic Party. And 6 years ago, I took over as Republican chair. We were well on our way to taking over this council. And when we finally did, and we had a Republican majority, we were left with a beautiful $10 million deficit. And 2.5 square mile town, that's a lot of money.
Wow.
To date, we've paid that deficit off. Our highest tax increase has been 0.92%. And we've still done what the people need in Manville. We took those wants and needs and separated them. And we went to work for it. But back on the small business too, it's a shame. I mean, 2.5 square mile town of Manville, and 9 businesses have went under already during the COVID.
Wow.
And these are businesses, Elizabeth, they went out, they bought the PPE that they said they had to have. They went bent over backwards to get everything in place to stay open, and they were shut down anyway. And now there's about 15 others teetering on, going out or coming back. Yeah. And I think the way the district is moving, I just think that I'm guessing that people just listen too much to maybe their college professors or people on Facebook. So that's why we're getting out the doors. We want people to see who we really are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I think that's been missing for a while in a lot of politics in the area.
Yep. And messaging better. And like you say, Joe, results matter. Turning a town around that was in a deficit and showing that good management that comes from, a conservative standpoint actually works. And Vinny, really, it's one thing to be registered as a Democrat, but what they really believe in, I mean, civil liberties and things that they used to hold dear. And as we mentioned before, the blue collar and the working man and woman, isn't that really now our issue? And isn't it incumbent upon us to message correctly to them so they start to see, hey, I actually believe what you believe?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. There's a gentleman by the name of Steve Spark, right, out of Summit, who I look up to tremendously. And early on in this race, Steve said something that resonated with me and resonated with a lot of people. And that's, Republicans aren't departing from the message, they're departing from the messenger. And they may have not felt like they were being well represented, but they're not departing from the core values of what makes a Republican a Republican. And we see that as we go door to door here in this district. I mean, we've knocked several thousand doors already in the past couple of weeks. It's all day, every day. It's what we're doing. I need to increase my tennis shoe budget just because of the amount of doors that we're knocking.
Yeah.
And as we go to these doors, we're not just knocking on Republican doors. We're like you said, we're a predominantly Democratic district, and as we knock on the blue doors, the people come out, they come on the front porch, and they engage in a conversation with us. And they'll, one of two things happens. First thing that happens is they'll say, "Vinny, you're a Republican. There's no way I'm going to vote for you." And I'll say, "Hold on one second. Let's talk about that."
Yeah.
And once we start talking about budget, once we start talking about education, once we start talking about environment, they come around. And the second thing that'll happen is they'll say, "Well, I'm registered a Democrat, but I'm not this Democrat. I'm not a Democrat in 2021. I was a Democrat back when I registered, but no longer." And they know that they're supporting us. So, as we look at the registrations here in the state, they're not indicative of really what people believe and how they vote in the polls. So we're seeing a strong upside as we go door to door because friends and neighbors talk. They know who are the strong candidates, the candidates that represent their values well. And even if they are registered D, they're going to vote R this year because they don't like what's happening down in Trenton.
Yeah, and I love how hard you guys are working. You're actually known for that, and your campaign manager, JD, you are. People have been talking about these guys are knocking on doors every day. I mean, that's the way to do it. There is no new way to do it. You have to talk to people. Joe, when you're knocking on these doors, and you guys cover about 4 counties, right, in your district?
Yeah.
So Vinny hit on some of the subjects, but what are people saying to you? Is it about money? Is it about the mask issue? Is it about the shutdown? What are they saying to you, Joe, you got to fix it?
Quite a bit of everything. I mean, taxes, that's always number one. Been in politics for a long time, even as a volunteer, taxes is usually right out of their face. But, people are concerned about the masking. They're concerned about the vaccines. I mean, I ran into a door the other day in, where were we? Readington, I believe. And the gentleman said he's a professional painter. And he said, they say the COVID pandemic is more deadlier to the human race than any other deadly thing that we've encountered before. He goes, I'm a painter and I have to wear a full face respirator with filters,
right.
but the deadliest thing, you only need a little paper mask to get through. And they're concerned. And believe it or not, a lot of people, they're resonating to the fact that Vinny and I both, we've both said many times, we know what it's like to sit there, are you going to feed your family this month or pay the mortgage? Yeah. It's undoable. And so many of our friends, how many times we heard in South Brunswick in the middle of a big blue area where they said, I'm tired of seeing my neighbors. I love my neighbors. They're moving to Carolina. Yeah. They're moving down south. It's almost every other door. And it's a shame. Why, businesses that used to employ everyone with great wage earning jobs are leaving. I mean, my aunt for Nabisco for over 20 years. Wow. Now, I'm glad, thank God she's, near retirement age so she can retire. But it's a shame, and it's a plethora of things that they're talking about. They're worried about, the elections, if they're fair or not. Mm-hmm. They're worrying if the vote actually counted last year. And this is just from even the unaffiliated. They're very skeptical. Sure. So, and they are leaning our way right now. So.
Yeah. Well, that's really exciting to hear. One thing that's amazing about both of you, and I said this to you before we went live, the issue du jour right now, as of a few days ago, is the masking of our children again. But you have seen over the past few months, more and more parents going to the Board of Education. You guys happen to both have served, are serving, which is an incredible advantage. And I want parents to hear this, because tonight I want you to talk about what it's like to be on the other side of that. You've got the parents coming to you very, very concerned. Vinny, right now, what are you hearing from parents? And I want you to give them some advice as to how they can approach their Board of Education people with more effectiveness.
Yeah, great question. Late breaking announcement there from the governor, right? This is not something that's been on our radar for a while. This is a new one that blindsided us. I've been touting that, Hunterdon Central's opening mask-free full day in the fall. And here comes Phil Murphy with a wallop on us like we've been used to with the guys. So I've got to say that it's been an interesting couple of days. My cell phone battery has been dying a whole lot quicker as the emails have been coming in, ding, 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 right from the parents. Right. And I'll speak personally for myself, right? I at least at this point, and especially in Hunterdon County, am all for the choice as to whether or not people can wear masks or not wear masks. Do what makes you comfortable. I'm not at the point with the governor yet. So we're looking right now with our team on what does our response to this look like. I can tell you personally, I don't support it. I don't know what that means in terms of actualities just yet because it's been so new. If we were having this conversation next week, maybe I could have a better answer for you. But we're on it. I'm finding out what the best options are for our students and our parents to exercise their rights, to exercise their ability to make choices for their family that are aligned with what they believe and what's best for our school community, because that's what's most important. Right. And what I'll say in terms of approaching school boards to have your voice heard, we have a limited amount of time that we're able to interact with the public. Email works for us. We get emails, we read emails. When you come to the school board, come quick, tell us all about your opinion, your view, why you want to go there. Because there's a long list of people behind you that also want to get up to speak. Sure. But that's the best way and the most effective way to communicate. The most important thing to remember is it's not your school board that's doing this. The state is forcing it on us. Yeah. This state and this governor have forced a lot of things on schools, COVID related and not COVID related, just in the past 12 months. So have some patience with your board while they work through this. Hope that they're aligned with you. Try to encourage them to be aligned with you and your opinions, but understand that they are messengers enacting Governor Murphy and the legislature's views. And quite frankly, if you don't like what's happening, vote out the governor and vote out your legislature.
Absolutely. And run for the Board of Education. Politics are local, right? I mean, Joe, the most impact, you've done it in both ways on the Board of Ed as well as in your council. This is how you change things, right? We're a bottom-up country. So often we look at the top of the ticket or the top of everything. That's not really where it happens. It happens first on your street. So Joe, how are you feeling about the governor's decision and the frustration that both parents and, frankly, a lot of Board of Educations are having right now?
Well, in Manville, a town like ours, to some of the folks, I'm still on the school board, I'm on the council, and I'm running for assembly. So, you get caught, Vinny knows what I'm talking about, get caught in the wrong supermarket at the wrong time, and it's another meeting. But I'm hearing the same thing. A majority of the folks that I've talked to in Manville and throughout the district, like I said before, especially in Manville, they're adamant. They don't want their kids in these masks anymore. They're done with it. Okay? They said wear masks and you won't get COVID. Well, people got COVID. Get a vaccine and you won't get COVID. And now they're telling you could still get COVID from a vaccine. I mean, at one point, the general public is just going to stop believing what you're telling them. Yeah. So, and my whole view on the thing since the day I decided to get involved with anything, is that our forefathers made it clear that the path to prosperity and happiness is a sacred and inalienable right that all people are entitled to. And, parents should be accountable for their kids, not an expert, not a teacher, not a governor, not a state assemblyman. Right. That parent, that's the parent's choice if they want their kids to wear a mask or not. Right. You pull as many studies about mask wearing, and you can pull equal amount that says, it's going to make the kids sleepy in school. They're not going to be attentive. And we're facing the same thing. Vinny probably is here. I mean, my wife's school board hasn't had another meeting yet, but I'm sure they're going to hear it from a lot of folks
they'll hear it.
And I can't speak for them right now, and I never would, but I'm sure they're probably pretty much in the same lines as Vinny and his school board is. Enough is enough. Let's get these kids back into school.
Yeah. I mean, it's so frustrating. They need to be back into school. They need to be kids, right? We've taken enough from them. If you think about it, this is the third school year that they'll be impacted, because remember, they were impacted in the spring, in 2020 when this all started. But, we talk about school boards and all of that, but what we're doing here is talking about you guys running for assembly and how important that is, because who gave Governor Murphy the right to, just do whatever he wants with his emergency executive orders? It happened in Trenton. So the assembly, the focus is on flipping those seats and getting back some balance of power. I mean, Vinny, really, have we had 3 working bodies of government in the past 18 months, or has it been really just King Murphy? I mean, I'm being facetious, but tell us how you feel about that.
Are you being facetious though? That's the good question. Look, I have, my lens has been predominantly education based, and I've seen the executive orders that come out of the governor's office. And I'll tell you, executive orders have a really important place in our government. They have a really important place in the function of our state. But I've seen a lot of executive orders that have nothing to do with this pandemic and nothing to do with this emergency. And I think it's an overstep. Right. The legislature needs to be there to hold checks and balances. There's a guy named Jack Citarelli who's running for governor. I'm sure you know all about him, but I can tell you, Jack, I'm going to hold you to the same standard that I'd hold Phil Murphy to with executive orders. You don't get to legislate with your pen. That's not how that works. There's 3 branches of government for a reason. There's no other way to make that clear, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat in office, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat in the legislature, your job is to check and balance the system. Yeah. That has not happened, and that's why we need a new legislature in New Jersey.
We do. We need more of a balance. Joe, we're so out of whack. I mean, it's as though there's only one body, right? And I've heard stories from my Republican friends that Democrat legislators will leave votes in committee. They don't even bother to show up. They just vote before it's even past committee. It seems as though the people have no voice. How do we get back to that? I've talked to so many people that feel hopeless.
Well, the best way to get back to that is to do our one true power we all as residents have is get to those polls and get rid of them. I mean, what great presidential candidate decades ago said, get rid of it, vote the bums out. And that's it.
That's where we're at.
You know, like Vinny was saying, I mean, no one has been there to hold them to their, except if it was something they needed passed, then they showed up for that.
Yeah.
Let's not discount that when it was something that benefited them. But this needs to be stopped. And I know Jack, if he didn't think we were going to hold him accountable to the same standard we're talking about now, he wouldn't want us on the team. He really would. He would expect no less.
That's right.
And I'm going to tell you right now, the Assembly, the Senate, they should be ashamed of themselves. They should have taken that power back. The Republicans were trying to push a bill onto the floor recently saying, from now on, 30 days automatic in the event of an emergency or catastrophe. And then after that, it has to be approved by the Senate and the Assembly.
Right.
And, you know, I know it's a shocker, but none of our counterparts showed up for this.
Well, they won't even hear it. That's Brian Bergen's bill, and it's not even being heard. And, you know, he's trying so hard. I mean, you guys do realize what a frustrating job you're running so hard for, right? I mean, you do understand we need people like you to fight. Mm-hmm. You know, Vinny, in a small business or even in a home, when your numbers, when your finances don't work out, Joe talked about it in Manville, you have to do things. You have to adjust, right? You don't just get to go into debt further and further. Yet we have a governor who borrows money we don't need, who, you know, we're not auditing any of these programs. We don't know what's really going on. Where is the fiscal responsibility? And how is that train so totally out of control to the point where we're headed for a big disaster?
Yeah, look, if I don't pay my bills, they come and they take my house, they take my car, they go after my credit. But for some reason on the government level here in New Jersey with Phil Murphy as our governor, that doesn't seem to matter. We don't have to balance a budget. We can write blank checks all day long. We can take out non-callable bonds that we don't need. And that doesn't work for me as a resident, as a taxpayer. And that's part of the reason why we're running. Yeah. You know, recently I just graduated with my MBA from Auburn University. And one of the things that we talked about a lot there is finances. Yeah. A lot of finance class, a lot of business law class. And you know, it's those same basic principles that we need to apply to our government to get this thing to run in a conservative and fiscal manner that makes sense, because it's just not happening right now. Right. You know, one of the things that really frustrates me too is budget leaks, where we have money going from one pocket of a budget to another in the books, where, you know, we think we're putting money into the transportation trust fund to go to infrastructure, but it's really going into all these other different areas. That is the fundamental problem here in New Jersey. We rob Peter to pay Paul, all with taxpayer dollars. We need to stop. We need to stop the bleeding. We need to get smart business people in the office. You know, look, Joe's a union worker. He's got great values. He understands it. He's been there before. Yeah. I'm a small business guy. I've worked for small businesses. I've owned small businesses. Jack Citarelli, top of the ticket, right? Small business guy, MBA, CPA. Yeah. Mike Pappas, our running mate in the Senate, right? He was working down in D.C. for the Small Business Administration. You want to talk about 4 guys that know it, that can go down to Trenton and can bring conservative values just to the budget alone? Right. We're your team. Yeah. We're your team. So, you know, it's been embarrassing. It's been embarrassing to watch how the state has spent money. And I'm excited to get down there to fix it.
Well, we're missing transparency. That's a big thing. Joe, you could not have run the town of Manville without transparency, at least did that well. I mean, aren't we allowed that as taxpayers? It's our money after all. There's zero transparency. As Vinny says, things bleed into other budgets. Nobody's auditing anything in a way that we can tell what's going on. It's just a runaway train. I mean, we're paying our debt service on money that we didn't even need in the first place. Is just gigantic. So where is the transparency? And will you guys call for that when you get into the assembly?
Well, unfortunately, there is zero transparency down in Trenton. In Manville, towns like Manville, and I'm sure in Vinny's town too, if we're not transparent, you're not getting reelected next time. You're not. The people demand it. They come for it. And if not, they're going to drive you crazy with Oprah requests. But we made it a point when we got control of the council in Manville that we were going to be one of the most transparent governments this town has ever seen. And we lived to that. That's an oath we all took. And we owe it to the taxpayers. We owe it to the residents. You know, we're spending their money. They deserve to know where every single penny goes.
Yeah.
And it should be put on a piece of paper so they can look at it, not come down and we'll give you a copy, that kind of thing. That's what happened decades and decades ago in Manville. You know, just trust us. We're working on it. And it seems like I said earlier, they have no respect whatsoever for the working family and everybody working, you know, down to the bone, 2-3 jobs at some of these families, and they're paying the bills and there's no respect for the money that they're so hard working for. You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, my local 102, that we've been recognized numerous times by the Small Business Association in New Jersey. And we've done things to help the small business community to keep it on its feet, to keep transparency. I mean, this isn't a communist country. It really isn't. And people should be free to see where their money is. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to ensure that there's transparency down there. We're going to demand it.
I love that. And I love that you've already turned a bad situation around, Joe. Both of you guys have a depth of experience. You are fabulous candidates. Really, I can't say that enough. I love what I've read about you, what I've heard about you from others, your experience. This isn't just run into Vinny somewhere and ask him to run because you don't have anybody else. You both deserve to be on the ticket. You both have the kind of experience that we need. So I need people listening now. We'll be sharing this video to understand that you guys, if you're in District 16, you should be doubling down here. But you know what? Even if you're in another district, we need to help the good candidates. We need volunteers. We need money, time, treasure, and talent. So Vinny, tell people how they can help.
Yeah, great question. I say this all the time. 3 votes aren't going to win this election. There's 3 people on this call, me, you, and Joe. 3 votes aren't going to win this election. What's going to win is everybody working together, right? We need friends, neighbors, family. All right, go out there, tell your friends, tell your folks to vote for us, because that's what's going to make it important. 3 things you can do to help us. First one, donate. Hardest thing for a Republican to do is ask for money. Democrats, they have no problem doing it.
So true.
Hardest thing for us to do is ask for money, but we need it. If you go to ppl16.com, that's going to be the website for all 3 of us. You can click right through and donate right on there. The Democrats, they're going to outspend us. They've raised a lot of money. But let me tell you, as Republicans, we're going to outwork them, and we're going to win this election. The second thing that we need is social. JD Bryden, our campaign manager, is a great guy. He's great at social media, but he can post all day long. And unless you're on there commenting, and sharing, it's not going to go anywhere. So get on there. It doesn't cost $1 to do it. Comment, and share on our social media posts, because those are really important to us. And the third one, like I opened this with, is tell your friends and family, right? Talk to the folks that you know. I guarantee whether or not you live in District 16, you know somebody who does. We've got major towns from Stockton to South Brunswick and from Readington to Princeton. You know someone who lives in district, I guarantee it. Tell them to vote Panico, Pappas, Lukac. I'll say this too. Every Wednesday here in the month of August, we've got ice cream socials that we're doing. So this Wednesday, August 11th, we'll be at Hunterdon Ice Cream in Flemington. Then we're headed down to Quality in Kendall Park in South Brunswick. And then on the 25th, we'll be at the Bent Spoon. And then actually on September 23rd, Joe and I are having a mini golf event here in Branchburg. So those are the events that we've got on the radar right now. Coming out, support us. We'll be there. Tons of people will be there. Get some ice cream. I think at this one, there's going to be a cardboard cutout of me because I've got some prior commitments. But make me jealous of the ice cream at Humdu that I'm not eating. It's pretty good stuff. I know Gabby well, who's the proprietor over there, and she's doing a great job trying to spin up her first small business as a young lady. So get it out, support local businesses, support your local candidates, and let's get this thing done in Trenton.
That's great. That was a lot. That's awesome, Vinny. Joe, I think he took all of it, what you can do, but I know you have more to say. So give us a last word to the constituents.
Oh, I do. Vinny's going for a tasting this Wednesday, so he's got a big date coming up in the near future.
You know what that is. Tasting. Enjoy that, Vinny.
Oh yeah, it'll be a good time.
But I couldn't have said it any better than Vinny did. I mean, this is going to take from the grassroots down right at the bottom where we are now. Vinny and I are just guys that roll up our sleeves and get to work. And we've been doing it from day one, from the point we started. I love an example of my mother. She moved to Pennsylvania years ago. She's actually coming here every other night, going to different bingos in 16, making sure her friends know the three of us are running and they need to vote for us.
That's
So
great.
don't ever discount the bingo the crowd.
Never.
But,
Or your mother.
But, honestly, I mean, enough is enough.
Yeah.
I've told everybody at their doors, I tell everybody we all have, it's time to put an end to this madness. It's time to get people down there that can straighten this thing out. I mean, gotta have some common sense, Somebody still has to get to the bottom of this veterans nursing home ordeal and the senior citizens that wrongfully died. I'm sorry, I'm a veteran. My stepfather was in a nursing home, and my mother moved him to Pennsylvania to a nursing home because they kept putting COVID positive patients with him and not saying anything.
Wow.
And that's just, there's families from Orange that are still waiting for some death certificates to their families that passed away in veterans nursing homes. These are our heroes. Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. Our kids aren't being taught. These are the people you look up to.
Yep.
Not some superstar, not some rock star, not some rap star. These are the guys that, for what they did, they can have all these freedoms right now and make the choices they want to make.
That's right.
Not what they have to do. That's what our team's about. We're here for the people. We're not here for, Pete Biondi used to tell me, I thought of him as an uncle. And he said, kid, you're a Republican in the primary or a Democrat. But after you go to November and win, you're there for every single person.
That's right.
And we don't forget that. And we don't forget where we came from. And we don't forget that it's going to take a lot of hard work to turn this thing around. And it starts right here with us.
It does. And Joe, thank you for your service, by the way. I love that you're a veteran. And, when you look back on our founding fathers, they were all different farmers, business owners, and they came off the farm and out of the business just to serve for a little bit and then go back. It was never meant to be a career. It was meant to be we the people serving. And you guys are the prime example of that. We should all be very excited about your campaign. Vinny, I'm going to let you have the last word. How does that sound?
Thanks. I really appreciate it. Look, I said it before, right? 3 things we need to win this race, and they all start with you. First one are the donations. Second one's the social media. Third one is really telling your friends and neighbors. We're not going to win it alone. We need the support of everybody to win this thing. 70,000 people are going to vote in this, and about 500 people are going to decide the election. So get on out there, support your local candidates, support your state candidates, and support us as we head down to Trenton and try to flip this thing, because that's what we need.
I love it. Well, I'm not in your district. Otherwise, I'd vote for you. So I
can't someone who is.
I know plenty who are. And when we get off of this, I am going to donate. So please give out that. And I'm asking everyone who's listening, donate what you can. You'd be shocked even what small donations can do. They add up, and we have to think outside of our neighborhood. So Vinny, give that website one more time.
ppl16.com, and then you can click on any of our names to go to our site. Mine is vinny2021.com.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to split it between you and Joe. I don't want anyone to get upset with me. So
it's all good.
All right, guys. Awesome. Thank you so much. We wish you the best. We'll be watching. We encourage everybody to help. Go door knocking with these guys. It's amazing. If you've never gone door knocking, you'll love it. It will just absolutely make you have a lot more faith about humanity than you have right now. Trust me. Guys, thank you so much, Vinny, Joe. Best of luck to you. I can't wait to hear all about you guys winning in November.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, have a good night. And to my audience, guys, we will see you next week.